Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pastor Bruce. Welcome to my podcast. Uh, it is August 31st, 2017, and today I want to talk to you about what one man's opinion is all about. Excuse me. It is exactly that, my opinion on what's going on. Now, I will talk about hate, and I will talk about discrimination. I will talk about everything that the left is doing in this country to destroy America. Now, you might say, well, Pastor Bruce, that's hate speech. Well, yes, it is. But you know why it's hate speech today? Because I'm a conservative. I'm on the right. I'm a Christian pastor. So, Christian pastors and conservatives, we shouldn't talk like this. That's hate speech. But when the left talks about it, it's not hate speech. Melody Griffin holding up the severed head of the President of the United States, or mock image of that. That's free speech. Even though people became offended, she felt that she had the right to do that. But if you listen to the full video about her doing that, she knew she was going to get in trouble. And she knew she had the opportunity to stop. Now, one of the things that you have to understand in today's psychology, being that I was a military policeman and I would cover different situations, we looked at cause and effect, okay? Domestic disturbances. What caused the domestic disturbance that created the effect of the fight or whatever occurred? And that's what I grew up with, cause and effect. Today's psychology is you are responsible for your actions at the time. Melody Griffith showed the severed head of the president, or mock image of the severed head of the president, covered in blood. That is hate speech. Oh, well, that's my freedom of speech. No, it's hate speech. Because you're not trying to promote anything. You're not trying to say this is good. You're trying to destroy the President of the United States. And Melanie doesn't understand that she is nothing more than a puppet to the Democrats who used her and belittled her in that ad so that they could make a point that they wanted to destroy President Donald Trump and the Republican Party. And they don't care who they use. They don't care who suffers because of it. They just want to get their point across. Now, we just finished 8 months of President Donald Trump's time in office. If you go back, I said it before, there's a Hannity video out there. And it shows all of the things that, not all of them, it shows a lot of the things that he accomplished and I have it on my Facebook page, all of the things that he accomplished in office so far in 8 months. Compare that to the last 4 presidents, no one comes close to what he's done. Yet the left-wing media supports the Democratic Party, and what does the Democratic Party want? Obstruction. Why do they want to be obstructionists? Why do they think they can be obstructionists? Because during the last presidential campaign, even though they lost more seats in the House, even though they lost more seats in the Senate, and they lost control of the House and Senate, they feel that they have been abused because 2,868,518 votes went to Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. And they felt because she won. And this is stupid because when I say they felt, it isn't that they felt. They know what the Electoral College is all about, and they supported the Electoral College all this time. But now, because she won the popular vote, they wanted a female in office. They didn't care if she was qualified or not. All they cared about is she was going to be the first female president, just like Obama was the first black president. Look at what the Democratic Party's doing for the people. Baloney and garbage. She lost the Electoral College. Now, because it's 2 million votes, look at the difference between Los Angeles County and Manhattan, the New York City, whatever the county is that covers the 5 boroughs. You take either one of those away, and she lost the election by millions. Take either one, and she lost the election. Why? Because the majority of the people across the country in their states even though it wasn't the majority vote, won the electoral college votes and gave him the presidency. And we know she's a flawed candidate. Even now, she writes a book. She doesn't blame herself for not going to Michigan. She doesn't blame herself for not going into the white communities in Florida and only going after the Latino vote in Florida. She doesn't blame herself for losing votes in Virginia when she walked in there saying we're closing the coal mines because we're going clean energy. It's not her fault. It's Comey's fault. It's the Russians' fault. That's whose fault it is. It's not mine. I did what I was supposed to do. What'd you do? Absolutely nothing. Oh, okay. What do you mean absolutely nothing? What was her agenda? What was she fighting for the American people? Absolutely nothing. All she was pure hatred and attack against Donald Trump. And Donald Trump got her. In the book, she talks about how she felt bad when Donald Trump was leering over her shoulder during one of the debates. Yet, if you look at that debate, because millennials, you believe this. So go back and look at the debate. She crossed in front of him and stood in front of him to sit there and say, look it, I have power over him. And then she turns around and goes, oh, well, he made me nervous because he was leering over me. No, if she felt that bad, she should have moved back to her side of the podium. And she didn't. You see how she lies? She's been lying ever since her husband got into the White House. She's for women's rights. Yet, when 3 women accused her husband of having sexual relations in the White House, being sexually assaulted, or being attempted rape, she attacked those women. But today, she says if a woman says something like this, we ought to believe her. What if they say it about her husband? Should we lock him up? Bill Cosby was tried because of something that happened, back in the 80s? Because at that time, the 70s or the 80s, because that's the time period that it was, that were things that were going on there. There's a thing called statute of limitations. And he's being tried for that. Well, let's put Bill Clinton back on trial for the attempted rape of a woman. Okay? How about the sexual assault of another? Let's put him on trial now. He's not the president anymore. Let's bring that up. Why won't they bring that up? Because he's a Democrat, and they're not going to do that to their own people. The National Organization of Women turned their back on those 3 women and supported the President of the United States. Why? Because they're Democrats. Yet the National Organization of Women will tell you they don't support any one political party. And that is a lie. That's what the left does. And that lie creates hate in this country. And so when the people finally got fed up of all of this, and they voted for Donald Trump and put him in as the President of the United States, now the hate comes out on the other side. We deserve the White House. We won. We have the popular vote. And because of the dumbing down of our educational system and not teaching the next generation the truth about how things work in this country, they believe it. They believe that the electoral college should go. But what happens, again, I say, take away Los Angeles County. She lost by millions. Take away New York City. She lost by millions. So, no, the electoral college is fine. It's the hate that the left of this society, the Democrat, and I won't even say the left, it is the hate of the Democratic Party to turn us into a socialist nation. And the liberals want socialism because they think that if they have a socialist government in this country, they're going to be able to keep everything they have. But if you look at the agenda of the UN for 2030, they will redistribute wealth of countries and individuals by force if necessary. So if you think stowing your money in some offshore account is going to work, it's not. They're going to take that money and they're going to redistribute it to the people? No, they're going to redistribute it to the governments. And the governments are going to sit there and live high on the hog while the people suffer. Argentina is a prime example. Cuba. How much money did President Obama give Cuba? and that money to help the Cuban people, and that money went to the government and the military. So when President Donald Trump turned that away and said, we're not doing that, that was a good thing. With the Paris Accords, it's about America handing out billions of dollars for the next 10 years to redistribute it to third world nations so they can improve their air quality over a 10-year period by 0.5%. That's nothing more than redistribution of wealth, and it'll go to the governments, and air quality won't get any better, and the people will still be suffering in these third world countries. Redistribution of wealth. AIDS research, I've said it before, $30 billion a year is going into AIDS research. Something like $14 billion is going around the world for AIDS research. Is it really? We don't know. We're not allowed to ask. And why are we paying other countries for AIDS research? If we've got $14 billion that we can give away to other countries, let's take that $14 billion and put it in towards infrastructures and cleaning up our cities and cleaning up our streets. And then Black Lives Matter, instead of them sitting there smiling like fat cats, acknowledging President Trump as a Hitler, why don't they go into the inner cities? Why don't they sit there in the classrooms so that they make sure that black students don't hit the teachers, that black students sit there in the classroom and learn about what's supposed to be going on in this country, and to teach them how to be respectful. And where's Black Lives Matter in Chicago, where 4,000 deaths a year under a Democratic mayor are killing blacks? Black on black deaths, over 4,000 a year. And yet Albert, that guy who runs around for the Democratic, he's nothing more than a Democratic puppet, Albert Sharpton. He runs around spewing hatred through discrimination. Whites are discriminating against black. Well, I hate to tell you, and, for the intelligent black people that are out there that understand what I'm talking about, white people are sick of it. You stuck your head back 150 years ago, and you won't let it out. You cry and you whine and you complain about your ancestors being slaves. You have had the opportunity over the course of the last 150 years to pick yourself up from your bootstraps and make something of yourself, but all you want to do was stick your head, because the Democratic Party tells you to, stick your head into the past and cry and whine and complain about injustice against the black people in this country. The injustice is you against the white people now. All of the attacks on the white people so that you can sit there on welfare, and there are white people on welfare. I'm not going to deny that, because there were white slaves back 150 years ago too. And if you compare slavery period to today, what did the slaves get? Very simple. Slaves got food, a roof, and clothing, and they had to go out in the fields and work. Today, they get food on food stamps, they get low-income housing, and they get welfare. But they don't even have to work for it. But the Democrats will say, hey, would you mind going out and protest for us? Come on, go protest because they don't care about you. We care about you, so go out there. That's the hate that's in this country. And the Democratic Party is the leadership of that hate. They don't have a message for the American people. They have a message of hate. Destroy Donald Trump. Destroy the Republican Party. That's hate. You want to see true Americans? Look at the news clips about what's going on down in Texas, where white, black, and Latinos are working together to save whites, blacks, and Latinos. Because that's the way the American people are. So stop the hate, people. Stop the hate. I thank you for listening once again. Have yourself a great holiday. I'll be gone for the next couple of days, so I won't be saying anything. May God be with you all. My prayers will go with you. My prayers are still with those down in Texas who need help. So enjoy, take care, and God bless.